This picture was taken in Ryde on the Isle of Wight, and there was a huge scooter festival going on there, quite literally for a weekend. There are thousands upon thousands of these scooters descend upon the Isle of Wight, and this is a picture I took looking at it, and I suddenly got the idea that sort of, the scooters very much sort of 60s, bit of a retro feel, and I thought a bit of a retro tone in, very much in the Quadrophenia Who scene, and let's take a look and see what we can do. But I don't really want to change this picture. As it is, I quite like it. This is purely an experiment. Now if I want to experiment, I usually go to the image, dropping down to duplicate. Duplicate, we're going to put a name in here. We're going to call this toned, and we're going to duplicate it with the merge layers only checked as well. So when we click OK to that, it's now arrived, and you can see it's in one layer. Our original is still safe over on this side. The next thing we're going to do is go to image, mode. We're going to drop down, and not RGB, we're going to change this to grayscale. Now this is telling us it's discarding the color information, it's taking the RG and B out of it, and there it is. That was a little bit of a warning. And the next stage is to go to image, mode again, dropping down to duo color. Now that opens the duo color. I'm just going to press the Alt or the Option key. You'll notice the way that cancel here becomes reset. You can click on that just to reset it. Under presets, you have got a huge amount of presets that you might like to try. Just going to zoom in a bit as well so we can see what's going on. Something like that would be pretty good. There's a load of different presets in there, so it's worth trying and seeing which ones work with you. And don't forget, you've always got the Alt or the Option key, pressing reset, starting again. I'm going to come down, selecting custom, which is just off the screen there, because we're going to make our own. Type mono, which is just the black there. Coming through, we got duo, tri and quad. Going to click on tritone. You'll notice these three inks have now become live. Let's move this to the side a little bit. Coming down, if we click on this window here, this is going to open the Pantone solid colors. There's a huge list of colors you might want to experiment with, but I'm going to go directly for this yellow one because that looks quite good. Clicking OK to that. Dropping into the box right next to it with a line going through there. If I click on the top, we're going to bring this down. As I bring it down, you'll notice the way that the tone begins to sort of fade away from the lights, just bringing through some of the lighter pixels there. That looks pretty good. Coming to the center, just dropping that down a bit as well. A little bit like that, looks pretty good. Clicking OK to that one. Coming down to the next ink, clicking on this. Again, it comes back, that's the default, but you can always come to picker. Clicking on the picker button brings up the color picker. We can now come in, let's try something like a blue, sort of around this sort of area there. Clicking OK to that. Once again, we're going to click in the window to bring up the duo curve. Clicking down, just dragging it right the way down to the bottom. I like the way that's beginning. You can see the two tones there now working nicely together. Bringing this in just a wee bit more, just to give a little bit of brightness. That area there I'm looking at in particular. So just working with these little anchor points there. That looks good like that, and clicking OK. There's the before, there's the after. You can see the way everything's beginning to work together. Got a nice sort of retro-y look going on there. You can of course change any of these. You might want to click on this, you might want to try a purpley colour, see how that looks. That's looking quite like that. Click OK. Like the way that's working. If it's a little bit dark, you can click in the ink one, clicking right in the center, just dropping it down. You can see the way you can sort of begin to sort of brighten up the whole image. I want to go for that slightly sort of retro-y bleached out look, so drag in this center cursor right the way down, or the center of the line there right the way down. That looks pretty good like that. We're going to click OK. Now this is telling us that all the inks must be specified. Now by that they mean you've got to put a color in, so we're going to call this purple, and now we can click OK or press enter or return. Job done. At the top here you'll now notice it's telling us it's tritone, so we know exactly what we've done to this layer. So there it is. Or is it? Because what you might like to do is try experimenting a bit further. If we come to the little icon here for the arrange documents, we can drop down to float all windows. Now there's our two windows. There's the original color one behind, there it is there. There's the tritoned one. Coming across to this layer, I'm going to grab hold of this, drag it out. Now pressing and holding down Shift on the keyboard. Now holding down Shift will ensure it drops in directly on top of it. In it goes. Coming back up to this, going to click on the first little icon there to consolidate all of our images. Through it pops. Looking pretty good. Now you can come in and you can sort of try something like changing the blend modes, the soft lights to overlay. Get some really sort of great looks to your picture by doing this, or simply go to normal. Now dropping down the opacity just to bring through a little bit of colour, and that's the sort of look I was after. Something just a little bit on the sort of bleached outside. That's what I was after. These lights are creeping in a bit on the seam, got a little bit of a blur going on here. The environment was just full of atmosphere. The noise that was going on, the actual sort of fumes and smoke from these were incredible. So to work along with that, we're going to come in, we're going to pick up the rectangular marquee tool, clicking down, dragging it out over the image, something over that area there would be pretty good. Coming in, we're going to drop down, selecting hue saturation just off the screen there as an adjustment layer. Moving the lightness slider across, you'll notice the center of the image, but don't worry, this is an adjustment layer across to the right hand side. Clicking on the little icon to bring up the mask. We're going to go for invert, so now it's light around the outside. Bring in the feather in, and as we bring the feather in, you'll notice the way it sort of blends it in. It's just sort of covering those items that I didn't particularly like. The other thing is you might want to just reduce the opacity down a touch or two. Using Command T or Control T, we can just move it around a little bit as well, like that. So I'm just going to bring these back and drop that down a touch more on the top. Pressing Enter or Return to apply. You'll notice the way that it brings in the feather as soon as you've pressed Enter or Return. There it is. There's the finished image. So we've tritoned this, we've added it to the picture, we've blended it through, lifted it and dragged it up. There's our tritone image. You might just want to go for a tritone, entirely up to you, but it's well worth experimenting. You can get some terrific results just using the tri, the duo and the quad tones. It really is fantastic to use them. But give it a try as well with your colour picture. It's amazing what you can do. So go on, as I've said quite a few times now, give it a try. Until the next time, it's happy imaging and take care.